Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Palaeontologist Gaming Network. Once again, we are taking another chapter of the T.rex time machine. We are, again, collaboratively working our way through this ebook. This Choose Your Own Adventure, available on Steam now for not very much money at all. It is not very high up on the most wish-listed games on Steam, I don't think. But we're having a good time. And yeah, we're on chapter 4. We don't know how many chapters there are, but things have already started going wrong in the Cretaceous. And so for a recap, we invented a time machine. Our designs were stolen by our rival. We got kicked out of uni. We went to the Cretaceous anyway. We killed a load of pterosaurs, unfortunately, which has traumatized us. But nonetheless, we continued. We messed around with some hadrosaur babies. We almost killed one of our rival's friends. Our rival turned up. Speaking of people turning up, hi Tiny. You've actually been looking forward to this. Well, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad someone who knows what they're doing has turned up. Okay, so we have had our rival turn up. Darian Vance, how dare he? We are filled with rage at even just the sound of his name and his good looks. I just want to punch him in the face. We all do. He's very rich, and he's had everything handed to him on a plate. You're into Choose Your Own Adventure stories. Maybe we should do a new channel. Do I have the voice to carry it? Even if I don't have the ability to read accurately. So yeah, I am a paleontologist, and I'm doing paleontological games, and this falls within our remit. It's a paleontological game, but I probably have dyslexia and I can't read very well. So, and you know what? I don't study dinosaurs either. So we got this game where you have to read about dinosaurs. I'm just not the person to be doing it. But I have a soundboard and I have a streaming PC, so away we go with chapter 4. Who knows what it'll be like. But this one, right, YouTube has a setting that allows you to set the latency for the live stream. So latency is just basically how long it takes to process everything. And by default, it's set to low. And it's got more options for more immediate communication. So when I say now, just type in now, and then we'll calculate the latency. It's probably going to be like, hopefully, a couple of seconds. But before, it was like 30 seconds. So this is what we need. Hopefully this will sort out the problems with getting direction from the audience, and you know, it'll make it a lot quicker. So, chapter 4. If only there was a story about the Paleozoic like this. Yeah, that'd be amazing. Well, if you like audiobooks, that's your calling in life, maybe. Right, let's get some mysterious music going on. Right, chapter 4, the Stampede. Oh, so I'm guessing we're not seeing T.rex yet. Unless it's a stampede of T.rex. Camping on a flat expanse dotted with scrub vegetation has its good points and bad ones. The good, no worries about carnivorous dinosaurs ambushing you. The bad, any troublesome beasts you can discern from ridiculously far off have probably already turned their eagle eyes on you. The ugly, no chance of dissuading predators from indulging in their nasty habits. After breakfast this morning, Brett decided to head over to the river to fill up the water jugs. With no carnivores in sight, he insisted on hoofing it the half mile, rather than driving the Land Rover, to avoid startling whatever skittish creatures might be enjoying a refreshing early morning drink. If something interesting turns up, He has promised to contact you via walkie-talkie. I didn't know we had walkie-talkies. Oh, that was good. Or I forgot. Truth be told, he scoffed when you first trotted out your dad's old set of walkie-talkies, but they still work fine, and it isn't like you can text each other in the late Cretaceous. So you dragged them along and insisted that you each keep one with you, just in case. While Brett is away, you spend your time examining the time machine, which, if we remember, was called the Time Changer. That Time Changer potato, was it? So examine the time machine and check the gas tanks, tyres, fluids. Oh, that's the thing. How are you going to get gas? How are you going to get petrol? How are you going to inflate your tyres? Like, if anything goes wrong with that, you're in trouble. Like, hopefully it's not like a Back to the Future one where you have to drive at a certain speed at a certain time or something, but even still. So, we could take more observations about yesterday's ankylosaur. We could treat our bruises, scrapes and gashes, or we could inspect our camera gear and ready it for today's filming. What are we on? 1 or 4 seems best. I think they had a few gas cans tanks on top of the potato, maybe. I like how we've got like our own little language that we understand just in this playthrough. So yes, referring to the potato, I understand exactly what we're talking about. Right, the time machine, the potato. So yeah, I'm completely in agreement. Like, I feel that the bruises, scrapes and gashes are being taken care of. Are they really going to be that different from yesterday, especially when we're on antibiotics? We could take more observation about the ankylosaur. Hopefully we'll see some again. Time machine, we're already there, and if something is up, then I don't think there's anything that we could particularly do. I think getting camera gear set is ready. Thankfully, everything seems to be in good working order, and the batteries are charged up. Once that's done, you decide to break camp and pack up. You're in the middle of doing so when the ground under your feet starts to tremble. That's oddly disconcerting. An earthquake, maybe? Then, a low rumble comes from the distant horizon. Uh-oh, this can't be good. At first, all you can make out is a little cloud of brown dust hugging the sparse prairie, headed your way. Wiping sweat from your hands and forehead, you climb on top of the Land Rover. The rumble builds. Through binoculars, the dust cloud resolves into a herd of bellowing brown beasts, bigger than buffalo, stampeding towards you and that time changer potato. Their feet tear up everything in their path. Their massive heads protrude as though mounted on bony platters, bearing a distinctive trio of horns, 2 above the eyes and a 3rd one on the snout. These horns point straight at your encampment. Thundering triceratopses? Wouldn't that be thundering triceratops? Isn't that already plural? If only there was like a paleontologist here to tell us these kinds of things. Triceratops, it is a plural, surely. Anyway, I wish I had like some stampede music or noise. I've got like 1. Anyway, there must be a couple dozen of them. No, more. Damn, they're fast. You leap down, the ground shakes almost as much as your fingers and your voice as you call Brett on the walkie-talkie. Heads up, we've got trouble. What's that noise, Lindsay? I just got the jugs topped off. I'll be back as quick as I can. No, you'll never make it, Brett. A pang of fear roils your innards as it sinks in that this is true. Already, the horn heads have gotten close enough that you have to raise your voice to be heard. You quickly fill him in, making sure he understands that the Triceratops are headed at him too. Then come get me! Desperation underlies his matter-of-tone fact. Don't know if I can reach you in time. Listen, you've got to take cover somewhere, anywhere. There's an overhanging embankment, or I can swim downstream. Can you try and turn them, Lindsay? My rifle's in the Land Rover. Oh, my rifle's in the Land Rover. No, wait. Focus on saving yourself and our ride home. Closer and closer. Triceratops. Triceratopi? Triceratops. Triceratopsians would work for the group. Anyway, Triceratops is good enough for me. The thundering Triceratopses begin to fan out, trampling everything in their path. Whatever slim hope you had that they'd miss you is gone. This isn't the right music. Let's get some more intense music. Whatever slim hope you had that they'd miss you is gone. You come to grips with the fact that there's no surefire way out of this one. You can try and outrun the herd and reach Brett before they do. This might work if you're really brave and an expert driver, though you would be putting everything at risk. Then again, if you're more cautious and reasonably skilled at driving, over rough terrain you could speed away at a right angle from the direction of the stampede. If the herd doesn't give chase and Brett succeeds in swimming downstream, perhaps you two can rendezvous somewhere after the danger has passed. You shake your head, tempted to crawl beneath the Land Rover and gamble that they won't smash it is not a good idea, as it's hard to imagine how much of anything, yourself included, could come through intact. Besides, if something happens to you, Brett would be on his own to find safety as best he could. Nonetheless, hiding does make sense as a last resort if an attempt to turn the herd fails. Blanks seem less risky if you're not a good shot, given the likelihood that wounding one of these behemoths will further enrage it. You make a decision and shout over the roar of the herd to tell Brett that we will drive straight to him, risking myself and the potato. We'll drive away at a right angle from the stampede while Brett swims downstream. We're toast if those four-legged tanks damage the time machine. Or we fire blanks to scare them off while Brett hides underneath the overhanging bank. And what we can't do is, while Brett shelters in place, I'll make my stand right there, rifle raised. How many would you try and kill? There'd be tons of them. Right, what are we thinking? 2. I mean, we are toast if they stampede over us. So, I guess number 1, they're saying that we go in the same direction as the stampede. So, like, we've got the stampede, us, and then Brett. And we're going to drive to Brett with them chasing us? I don't understand how we drive a right angle if it's not. I don't understand the spatial arrangement of this situation. But do you want Brett in a Cretaceous river? I mean, isn't he going to get chomped by a crocodile? Shooting blanks did not work well last time whatsoever, so yeah, it might be better to try and get to him. Yeah, maybe. I think we're gonna go 1 after all. Yeah, because Brett is very precious to us, and it sounds like the other way is a bit hilly as well. Even though we are in a 4x4, let's go for 1. On they come. If you thought they were loud before, the noise from their grunts and growls, which I have, hang on. The noise from their grunts and growls, added to the stampeding of their furious charge, now rises to the volume of a freight train. It sends your pulse into orbit as you drive through the low-lying brush. Above the ruckus is my doorbell. Right, hang on. Sorry, I'll be back soon. And we're back. It was next door picking up a parcel. I mean, it was the professor and we're in university or something. And as soon as I go away, we get a huge spike of viewers. Of course. So, we're travelling towards Brett. Where am I in the text? Above the ruckus comes the tight, scared tones of Brett's voice, imploring you to be careful. You choke back a laugh at the ridiculous notion that is possible to be careful in this situation. Nor do you have any time to answer him. Your full attention is given over to your driving, which grows more difficult as the dust cloud sweeps ahead of the herd. It envelops you in a choking haze, stinging your eyes and sending you into a coughing fit. You didn't think to tie a damp cloth over your mouth and nose. The ground quakes so badly that you have to slow the Land Rover or risk a blown tyre or broken axle. You want to turn the wheel and flee, an urge you must fight. Instead, you blare your horn while racing towards the river, hoping that'll prompt the behemoths to keep their distance. Behemoths? Behemoths? Or at least prevent them from ramming your vehicle by accident. The tactic works. The herd splits in half, with massive beasts pouring around that time-changer potato as though your vehicle were a pebble in a stream. You keep it up, really leaning on the horn as you go, desperately hoping that you haven't inadvertently driven one group or the other towards Brett. There's no way to know, and it's too late now. You reach the riverbank well after the herd, to behold devastation. The Triceratops galloped over the embankment and plunged into the river. Now they're half wading and half floating downstream, a safe distance from you. But Brett? Where's Brett? Brett, where are you? No, wait. It'd probably work better if you gave him a chance to answer. Brett! Your voice echoes back from distant cliffs. The residual dust cloud makes it impossible to see much. You grab a first aid kit and dash along the embankment, screaming, Brett! Here! Comes the reply, I'm here! Yes, relief surges through you. He's alive! Mud-streaked and shaken, but physically unharmed. Your friend scrambles up the embankment. You hug Brett like you'll never let him go, heedless of the fierce sweat and mud squelching between you. He hugs you back, every bit as hard. Your feelings for your best friend, the one who knows you better than anyone in any era, sweep over you. Do you yearn to kindle a romance, or are you supremely happy with the way things are? Oh no, this is now the wrong music. We need some love music. I'm in love. I pull Brett closer still and kiss him. It's crazy that I'm falling for Brett, but I've got to say something. I tell Brett how glad we are that we're such great friends. I silently move away from Brett, who has never wanted anything more than a friendship. Hey, Eris, you're back. Oh, you're just in time for the romance. Yeah, there were tons of pterosaurs are dead. We had to, the time changer potato broke. We had to construct a new one out of old bits of pterosaurs lying around everywhere. Relic Dragons here as well, 3. So we're having a platonic relationship with Brett. Is there anything more going on? What do we feel? Are we ready for a romance in the Cretaceous? We need all options. We have super low latency today, so we need decisions from everyone. Eris, Tiny, get involved. Three or 4? No, nobody fancies Brett. Okay. Yep. Okay. Unequivocal friendship. So do we tell him how we are such great friends, or do we move away silently? Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's great that we are such good friends. Yeah? I guess like 3 or 4 are kind of the same. Silently move away from him. What would that do? Anyway. We are such good friends. You need to make sure that Brett doesn't get the wrong idea about your intentions. You let go of him as you say, "You know what, I think the world of you, Brett. I always will. I'm so happy that we can be great friends without all the complications of romance getting in the way." I hope he doesn't feel anything for us. Brett looks at you, grins, and simply says, "Yeah, me too." You can see that he really means it, which fills you with happiness and relief. You can feel a grin taking over your face. More slowly and cautiously this time, you drive back to your campsite while Brett scans for any sign the herd might make a second pass. You dimly recall something about stampeding buffalo making a circle. Could that be true for Triceratops? Brett scoffs. Only in a lame spaghetti western. I hope you're right. You reach your encampment to find a disaster area. Sleeping bags, clothing, the torn and flattened remains of anything not packed in the Land Rover are strewn about. There's not much left, but this is all you have, so you start to pick through it. You retrieve the unused propane tank, some foodstuffs and the coffee. Then on foot you both follow the dinosaur's course, collecting more of your belongings. In the mad stampede, the Triceratopses... I'm gonna be so upset every time I say Triceratopses. The Triceratops drag some things a surprising ways away from your campsite. There may be not much left, but you need anything you can salvage. You're a good half-mile from your vehicle when the next crisis snaps its fanged jaws. You hear familiar cries in the distance, cries that send spears of dread down your spine. You raise your field glasses and curse at the sight of your old friends, the sickle-clawed troodontids. Oh god. Loping across the plain towards you. Damn, of all the pieces of bad luck. You don't want to believe it, but their coloration and bobbing gait are as unmistakable as their cries. While there's only a pair of them this time, that's too many. Vividly, you remember how they were drawn to fresh meat and blood. Perhaps they've associated you with a meal. Oh dear. Several thoughts chase through your brain. First of all, you could race back to the Land Rover and make tracks. They're far enough away that it should be fairly easy to outpace them. An intriguing idea comes to you. Here's a chance to study or film the troodontids. Though that's not a task for the faint of heart. To do so, you would need to lead them to a small band of dead lizards that got trampled by the Triceratops. Shouldn't they find a lizard flesh tastier than yours? Brett grabs his rifle, ready to pick them off. For him, that's no problem. Your friend is cool, collected, and a good shot. I don't want either of us to start blasting at these creatures, Brett. We don't need to. He looks a touch frustrated, but also relieved. So what'll it be, Lindsay? So, blanks will do the job, scare them off. We can outrun them, just get back to the time-changing potato. Or we can try and feed them? What are they likely to do? So, the location would definitely be the Cretaceous in North America, give the whole Troodon and Triceratops. I will take your word for it. I'm not one for dinosaur paleobiogeography. But yeah, Triceratops, Hell Creek. That is Cretaceous, isn't it? Or am I... No, Morrison is Jurassic. Yeah, it's just dinosaurs. I don't care. Oh, on the one hand, I would want to study them. On the other, our studies thus far are pointless if we die. That is true. However, we are not the only ones in the Cretaceous. If you missed it yesterday, we also have Darian Vance, our nemesis, who stole our research. He made it back to the Cretaceous as well. So he's also recording his own videos. Which makes it sound like I'm saying, oh, it doesn't matter if we die. Of course we don't want to die. But... ooh... If we scare them, we get nothing but safety. If we outrun them, we also get safety, but they'll be still around. And if we feed them, we get information, but are potentially unsafe. I think maybe number 3, that we can outrun them, and then they'll still be around to film. Well, could we outrun them? Probably not. I wouldn't expect. Humans aren't the best animals at running, you know. And I imagine a theropod would be pretty quick if they're small. But apparently it says that we could outrun them, and we've still got the gun. So I'm gonna go for that one. I feel speedy. Achievement: Mammalian ancestors. Discover the mammal ancestors. What? Why is it giving me that achievement already? It's past time to get the heck off this accursed plane and back into the woods. Brett's in great shape and more than willing to hoof it. You only get about half a dozen steps when you almost step in a ground burrow made by some critter. You pull up short. This is when your simple plan begins to run off the rails. A furry, pointy-snouted critter pokes its head out of the burrow. No bigger than a squirrel, it sniffs the air and twitches its outside ears, so very pale, hairless, and almost human-like in their curves. It's got human ears! Okay. Mammal! All that furry, it has to be. You suck in your breath and stare at the tawny little critter. Its long-whiskered snout quivers like mad. You can sense that you're distantly related. Can it sense you're distantly related? No, it can't. Its lively eyes fix upon you. What do you do? Easy does it. I motion to Brett to retreat carefully. Make a threatening motion. It can't distract us from the troodontids. Freeze. Maybe it'll back off if we show it we aren't afraid. What? What? It's... Wouldn't the mammal be incredibly scared of pretty much everything? Burrow? Pale and hairless? I don't know what it could be. I don't know. There's just like this general mammal in pop culture, I think. You know, just kind of like some ratty Morganeucodon type of thing. So, what are we going to do? I mean, we're being chased by theropods. The first option is that we're worried about the mammal being particularly fierce or dangerous, more so than a theropod that's chasing us actively, and we've had run-ins before. We can threaten it. Hopefully it'll go back in its burrow. Yeah, it can't be too big, you know, if it's burrowing, because everything that burrows is pretty much fairly small. At most it's going to be like the same size as like a badger or something. Or freeze. Well, then that just gets the troodontids on our back. So we've got a 2, we've got a 1. Oh yeah, it says it's squirrel size. Yeah, it's absolutely. Why are we? What is option 1 about then? Yeah, badgers are terrifying. I think number 2. I think we can't get distracted. It's amazing that there's like this squirrely sized mammal. We know where it's going to be though. It's going to be sitting in its burrow. We can dig it up and stick a camera in there. The last thing you need is for this rodent, oh that's a claim, to cause either of you to lose focus at a critical moment. Silently you bare your teeth and wave your arms to drive it away. This rodent isn't intimidated in the least by you. In fact, it bares its rat-like teeth and raises a ruckus, an unearthly howl loud enough to wake the dead back in the present. Startled, you cringe backwards. The troodontid's sharp, beaked head swiveled to point at you. Damnation. Not good. What now? It's awfully far to start shooting at the troodontids, unless you're a crack shot. You could always try reloading with blanks, or race to the Land Rover if you're in top condition. The nearby brush fuels a different idea, namely lighting a branch on fire and using it to keep the troodontids at bay. That always works in the movies. While these predators have no reason to fear you, isn't it likely they'll be terrified of flames? This seems feasible for anyone who's brave enough and reasonably coordinated. So, shoot blanks, leg it, or fight them off with fire. Ooh. Yeah, no, rodent, eh? So we've got an option for run. With my guts, I would say maybe fire, but I am open to that being completely wrong. We've got run, blanks or run. Well, I think, you know, this is the democracy, so I think we're gonna leg it even further. Fire could be risky, yeah. Could you imagine setting fire to everything? Oh, I wonder what the oxygen levels like were in the Cretaceous, because I know they were up and down the whole time, and they were highest in. I know that they were highest in the Carboniferous, and then even higher in the Permian when it was like at 35% at the very earliest Permian. But it would be interesting to see whether or not a fire would burn as well in the Cretaceous as it would do the modern day. Because I know that who was the researcher? I think it might have been Jenny McElwain or something was doing or if I've just given her a load of research she didn't do, I'm sorry. She was doing experiments to see how vegetation would have burned in every different period, which is really fascinating. So the thing to look up if you want to see is Carbs Gulf or something. I can't remember the acronym. But there's big oxygen curves that have been produced through time. Anyway, we're going to leg it. Hang on. Fire could be risky. Was Cretaceous one of the high oxygen times? That's what I'm trying to think. Even if we could keep some at bay with fire, there is likely to be too many to keep them all off us. Eventually one or more will be able to attack as they surround us. Yeah, run away. I don't have enough tense music. It's bat out of hell time. Brett takes off like the fleet-footed runner that he is. As for you, suffice to say that maybe you've overestimated your fitness. You can feel yourself fading in the stretch. The troodontids screech in anticipation. Where's the troodontid noise? That's a bit deep, but anyway, that'll do. That sends a spike of adrenaline surging through your bloodstream. You put on a burst of speed, but it isn't enough. The bigger troodontid leaps and sinks a wicked claw into the heel of your boot, right through the leather and into your flesh. You go down, then comes a large bang. Your attacker is shrieking and convulsing. Another bang, and a third. Everything's very quiet, save for your gasps of breath and your heartbeat roaring in your chest. Are you okay? Brett sets his gun down and crouches by your side. You rip off your boots, which is squishy with blood. Good thing most of it isn't yours. Brett hurriedly binds up the puncture wound. You lean on him as you hobble back to the Land Rover and climb in the passenger seat. Oh no. Was that the wrong choice? We're all talking about oxygen like a bunch of nerds. Which I absolutely love. We got this story going on, but everyone's preoccupied by oxygen chat. Definitely not as much as the Carboniferous. Bugs would be bigger. Yeah, it does sound painful. I've like torn an Achilles tendon in boots while doing some running, and oh god, it hurts. Later that afternoon, after everything has settled down, you check out what your GoPro camera might have caught on film. You had switched it on as soon as the ground started to tremble. Now you take a look. It's something out of a miracle how your trusty GoPro captured so much, beginning with those first gut-twisting moments when the Triceratops thundered at you. The film is remarkable. Look at those terrifying close-ups of the horned dinosaur stampede. You shudder as you're seemingly transported back into the chaos. Your voice just about cracked with fear as you yelled for Brett, and then finding him. Wow. Oh, here's some snippets of that blasted mammal. To think that you took the first ever images of your distant ancestors. This doesn't change your loathing for rodents. Oh, the poor things. Uh-oh, look at those troodontids. You feel your blood pressure shoot up again. All in all, your footage is compellingly watchable. Oh, that's good. This has been the toughest day yet, filled with one unexpected development after another. There were moments when you questioned whether the Mesozoic era was really the place for you. No wonder every artist's depiction of mammals from this era portrays them as cowering before the dinosaurs, terrified out of their mouse-sized skulls. Then again, today brought some incredible experiences, ones that you'll treasure for a very long time. Now that you have a chance to reflect, what's your assessment? Coming here is the best thing I've ever done, hands down. There have been setbacks, but I've learned from my mistakes, and I'll persevere. If we'd stayed home, I might never have seen how much Brett means to me. It was crazy pants to make this trip. I'm out of here the first chance I get. Oh, come on. You've gone back to the Cretaceous. If that is not the coolest thing that anyone has ever done, ever. Like, what on earth have they been doing? Right, where are we? With the chat. Gonna be honest, Troodons use their suckle claws as an attack method wouldn't make sense, given the Velociraptor kicking hypothesis that is shown to not be valid. All it would leave is a puncture. It wouldn't have been viable, and they wouldn't have done it, let alone Troodons. Yeah. So what is the latest hypothesis? Is it still that that they use it to get on top, to pin, rather than, you know, like disembowel with it? So distant ancestors, yes, we are all rodents now, apparently, according to this book, but we're not doing it for the scientific accuracy, I don't think. What with all the time travel and everything in the Land Rover. Isn't it a bit of waste to shoot the Troodons and not be examining their bodies at all? Yes. Why isn't that an option? Why don't we have a Troodon, a fresh Troodon skeleton? I mean, the description wouldn't even make sense as an early mammal, let alone pre-primate relative. So we got a lot of 2s or 1s. Yeah, current hypothesis, pinning down their prey, down, let hawks and other birds of prey do. Cool. Yep. Okay, well, I am up to date on raptor research then, or something. I don't know. And then I was the one responsible for, you know, like, researching this kind of stuff for documentaries. It just goes in one ear and out the other. I'm just like, dinosaurs. Yeah, they pinned them down or something. Right, so 2s, lots of 2s. What? No, it's a 1, surely, or 4. I mean, would it really ruin your trip back to the Cretaceous? Would you really look back at this in future and just be like, oh, I shouldn't make those mistakes again if I come back? It is surely the best thing that's ever happened in the history of humanity. But no, we are a democracy. Democracy? Yeah. So 2. You've learned... Oh, that's the end of the chapter. We've only been going 40 minutes. Maybe we'll do another one. Do you want another chapter, or do you want to leave it to tomorrow? You've learned a lot about yourself in the short time since you've arrived. For one thing, you now have a deeper understanding of how you'll respond to a crisis. For another, you'll have a better appreciation of what it takes to keep going in the face of fear. You want another chapter now? Another chapter. Democracy. Okay. The dinosaur death trap. This doesn't sound Doesn't sound like a good chapter. You didn't sleep well last night, having woken up any number of times with nightmares about the Triceratops stampede. Also, the pain pill you popped didn't do squat. Moving hurts. When you mention this, concern fills Brett's face. Let's have a look. You hesitate. There are times when it's good to try and power through on your own. This is not one of them, you know that. Picking up on your reluctance, he says, I absolutely insist. He pulls out his first aid kit, at which point you protest that your own field medicine techniques are improving. I should think so, he replies, and then gets down to business. You watch closely and find that you've absorbed a good deal of what he's taught you, which pleases both of you. While doing so, you weigh a couple of options for striking out into unexplored terrain, including a geothermal area. Suddenly, a flare rockets up into the clear blue sky. It's unmistakable, even without binoculars, and it can only mean that Vance and company must be in trouble. Do we trust them? Maybe they're luring us into some sort of situation. Looks like we're the only cavalry to come riding over the hill for the next 67 million years. You couldn't live with yourself if you were to ignore the distress call. Brett gives you a grim-faced nod. Let's roll. You hastily stow your gear in the Land Rover and head towards the source of the flare. You've been driving about 45 minutes, which seems like an eternity to you, and must feel even longer to whoever's in trouble. 45 minutes? That's a very long way, isn't it? Like, how far away is this flare? Like, how far up do they go? Surely you'd only be able to see it, like, beyond, like, the closest tree line or something like that. But anyway. This isn't my story to rip apart. When the somber silence that has descended upon your Cretaceous ambulance is broken by the familiar gabble of duck-billed dinosaurs up ahead. Coming over a little rise, you spot the herd making their way towards a patch of fragrant foliage, of the type that you recognise as their preferred meal. Not surprisingly, the juveniles with their bottomless appetites rush ahead. The adult females proceed more slowly, with clacks and tail twitches, undoubtedly meant to encourage the yearlings to follow. The recent hatchlings ride on their mothers' broad backs. Wow, there's a claim. You're proud that you can pick out Mama Hattie's striped and dappled markings. But wait, her brood screeches, and the littlest hatchling and shoves it off her back. Landing, snout first in the dirt, it squawks, "Cub!" Undeterred, the baby hops back aboard. Again, the older siblings shove it off, screeching even louder. It's as though they're yelling, "No room, no room!" But there is room, more than enough room, on their mother's ample back and tail. The scene plays out a third time, with Mama Hattie moving on before the hatchling can scramble aboard. "Cub, cub!" The runt of the litter hops after its mother, who has increased her pace, but it can't keep up. Some people would find this troubling, while others may view it as normal sibling roughhousing. Still, others wouldn't even slow down to watch. You make a snap decision about stopping the car, weighing the need for speed against the brief delay for Cubby's sake. Do you pull over? No, time is pressing, and the baby duckbill has to learn to survive on its own. Slow down to make quick observations, but don't actually stop. Yes, I can give poor little Cubby a lift without a major delay. Yes, a brief stop is worth it to film my answer to March of the Penguins. Yes, the smallest duckbill isn't actually hurt, and I need this chuckle-inducing snippet. Oh, that last one is so immoral. Okay. The silhouette looks like Triceratops process to me. Anyone else think so? I hope Vance wouldn't be evil enough to set a trap for you. Oh god, you would hope so as well. Bottomless appetites might make sense, with many dinosaurs needing to eat a lot more food at younger ages for their growth. I say one doesn't make any sense if not mean. Yeah, I think Cubby is going to be absolutely just fine. Runts of litters survive. You know, there's a runt, and we don't help every runt that we come across. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see the paleo-ecological interaction between siblings and the rivalry there, and how there's like family units. But you know, we've made that observation now, and we can still make it later. We can still record it later. We can still talk about it later. But our nemesis, Darian Vance, he's in trouble. And as much as it would be nice for him to suffer the consequence of his own plagiarism and unethical behaviour, we're going to have to do it. I don't think I'd live with myself if we didn't. You kids will have to work it out for yourselves, you mutter to the sibling mafia, echoing what Brett's mother always said when he and his brothers got into squabbles. Somehow, they usually did reach a detente? Never heard that word before. You press the gas pedal. Brett grins. Now where have I heard that before? You give him a reassuring look. Then take a last glance at the hadrosaurs in the rearview mirror. No more distractions. You follow a dry, rocky creek bed with a bit more background music, which means it's slower going than you'd like, full of twists and turns and the possibility of a blowout if you aren't careful. Up ahead in the sky, you spot a flock of pterosaurs, 4 or 5 of them circling and occasionally diving, then rising again. It's too far to see what they might have in their dagger beaks. Coming around the bend, you slam on the brakes. Before you lies a pond in which a couple of triceratops struggle, uttering grunts and snorts, through their movements, though their movements are sluggish. A pterosaur swoops down to strip the flesh from the corpse of another great beast. Something so far gone that it's hard to tell what it once was. Possibly a juvenile T.rex, you think with a shudder. Bones of other unfortunates jut up from the water. Worst yet, Darian Vance's RV is sunk up to its axles in the pool, with Casey and Skylar looking out the passenger side doorway at Vance. There he is, floundering knee-deep in the pond. Sweat drips from his flushed, terrified, gorgeous, rugged features. Black gobs spatter his lower half. "Lindsay!" he shouts. "Watch out! It's a tar pit beneath the surface!" Yikes! Vance isn't kidding. The foul odour rising from the cesspool is due to more than carrion. You vaguely recall learning that a tar pit isn't actually filled with tar. But what the hell is that stuff? You can't quite remember. Some sort of noxious chemical brew. One not to mess with. Comparing the hadrosaurs to his own childhood might be going on that who projecting human traits onto non-human animals. Definitely. Oh yeah, T-Rex is another reason it would be Cretaceous North America. Yeah, well, we would be in Cretaceous North America, wouldn't we? Because we are in the same location as the parents' garage. I remember that one, actually. And then tar pits, yeah, so something like La Brea, if you've ever been. I don't know if any of you are American, but they aren't sticky black tar. They are just, it just looks like a lake, but then with some oil on top of it. So it's tar pit is essentially just an oil seep on the surface. And it's something that would kill you if you drink it. Probably, it wouldn't do you any good. But it's not something that is too much like, you know, like what you see in what's that dinosaur film called? Why have I forgotten what it's called? where they have a million sequels. The Land Before Time. There we go. The Land Before Time. Someone will have written that. Well, La Brea wouldn't be Cretaceous, if I'm correct. No, it wouldn't be, but the principle is just like an oil seep over a lake. But it's one of the best examples of the natural traps. Yeah, it's amazing going there. And if you do go, I really do recommend it. Like, one of the things that you don't realise, or at least I didn't realise, was just how central to Los Angeles it actually is. Like, you've got Hollywood Boulevard and Beverly Hills, and then just like a 5-minute walk or whatever it is, you've got the tar traps. It's crazy just where it is, just in the middle of Hollywood pretty much. Skylar holds up a goo-smeared rope. Too short. Can't you get the RV any closer? She shakes her head. Not an inch in any direction. Believe me, I've tried. The heat and the fumes are getting to us. Why is it hot? Just because of the heat of the day? Skylar gives Vance a worried look. Hurry, Lindsay, Skylar shouts, with a glance up at the swarm of impatient aerial scavengers. Casey scans the surroundings, his face gone pale. They might not be the only ones looking for a meal. Okay, you run your hand through your hair as it sinks in that it's up to you to free Darian Vance from this Cretaceous death trap. Darian Vance! If it had been anyone else except your worst enemy, there wouldn't be any question that you'd do everything you possibly could ASAP. Seeing Vance helpless, red-faced and wide-eyed, practically hyperventilating, is a turning point. In a flash, you know what you want to do. So, I don't want to. We can't do this one, so we do. Still harbour some ill will against him. I don't wish him ill. I'll risk helping him, maybe even offer to work together later. I'll save him because it's the decent thing to do, then drive away, never to see him again. What would Brett think of me if I didn't try to save Vance? Me saving Darian Vance, best scene ever. I've got the upper hand. Time to make the bastard pay dearly. Oops, I wasn't supposed to say that word on air. Never mind. So, what are we thinking? We're saying 2. I imagine if he was less there, someone finds his tar pit and finds a human fossil in it. Yeah, and finds a giant time machine RV as well. So, what are we doing? It's a tough call. I think maybe option 3. What would Brett think of me if I didn't try to save Vance? But then it's putting it. Why is it framing it in what we think about what Brett's thinking? Is this like the romance one again? Saving Darian Vance, best scene ever. That seems kind of immoral to like film you rescuing him. Got the upper hand, time to make him pay. But what does that entail? And then save him because it's decent, then drive away. Maybe that one? Maybe 2? Yeah, 2. Looks like it's... Yeah, we're in agreement. Okay. Whereas, I need some music for pulling someone out of the tar. Let's go for the tense one. You couldn't live with yourself if you didn't do all you could to get Vance out of this mess. Even though there aren't words for how much you despise the man who single-handedly ruined your academic career and your life. Once you've done what you must, you want no part of him, ever. Stay calm. I have an idea. A flicker of doubt crosses his face. Sure hope so, he says. It would be counterproductive to let everybody know that you haven't entirely figured out what to do. Truth be told, Darian Vance is in pretty deep, and that stuff looks disgustingly sticky. Before you plunge in, figuratively, let's hope, you take a deep breath and promptly conclude that the scorching fumes make taking deep breaths a bad idea. Okay, step 1 is to instruct everyone to soak a cloth in water and tie it around their mouths and noses. They hurry to do so, all of them except Vance. Now what? Do you switch into rescue mode? Absolutely, there's no time to waste. Start by tossing Vance a water bottle. Wait, first investigate the deadly tar pit to find where it's shallowest for Vance to wade to shore. Not until my camera's rolling. Is he gonna pass out? That's the question. Yeah, 2 was the only unhorrible option. Good. I'm glad we're all in agreement. Right, now this one. If we toss Vance a water bottle, is he gonna catch it? And if he does, then all he can do is just keep himself conscious, presumably? How long are we gonna investigate the tar pit for? Can he wade? So we got 2. More information in this is always helpful. Like, are we assuming it's like quicksand? Is he slowly sinking? Why can't he just stand there? Are his feet on the bottom? I'm guessing so. Otherwise, like, why wouldn't he just go through it? And if he can't touch the bottom, then how can he wade to shore? So, he stood there. He might faint, but even if we figure out where it's shallowest, that's shallowest for us to be able to wade in after him if needs be. So, more information. With the visibility underwater so poor, you want to determine the best routes for getting Vance out of there. Underwater now. So is it watery or is it sticky black goo? Either way, the visibility is going to be poor. Lest you unwittingly drag him into a deep spot. The stakes are too high to make a hasty mistake and have him literally in over his head. You dip a few branches into the pool to try and assess its depth. Vance gives you a look of impatience. Casey, however, approves of your tactics and fills you in about a possible route. It'll be tricky, you tell him. Thanks, I'll give it a try. Next, you search through your own vehicle for your longest rope. By the time you dig it out, Vance has sunk a few more inches. He eyes you up waringly. Interruption! Hope it's a T.rex. While you're busy doing all this, a dinosaur comes tromping along. It's a juvenile ankylosaur, wagging its club tail back and forth. It makes straight for the pool, no doubt intent on a refreshing drink and clearly lacking the requisite caution. You try hollering to scare it off. Everyone else joins in. Fat chance. It barely glances your way, being too young or stupid to be frightened. What now? Vance won't be thrilled if you turn your attention to saving the ankylosaur instead of him, but neither would he be happy if it got trapped. Then panicked and used its club tail to splash him with tar. If you want to warn the dinosaur away, it's easy enough to fire a blank over its head. You just have to be sufficiently careful to warn everyone else first. Or, if you have a decent throwing arm, you could throw a flaming branch at it to frighten it away. It has almost reached the water's edge. Is throwing flaming branches at petrol-soaked lakes a particularly good idea? It solved the Darian Vance problem, at least. Oh dear. Right, okay. I refuse to let the ankylosaur distract me from liberating Vance. I'll risk shooting a blank to scare the ankylosaur off, or will hurl a burning branch to drive the dinosaur away before it blunders in too deep. One or two. Oh, hang on. Too young or too stupid to be frightened. The thing is an armored tank with a powerful club. Of course it is. That's why it's not scared. You know, why would you be scared of some tiny little mammal things when, you have all that armament? No flaming branches. No flaming branches. Firing blanks. We've scared one before with a blank. In chapter 3, we got one to. Wait, it made it aggro actually, didn't it? And it went for Skylar, Casey. I can't remember which one's which. The paleontologist. So they're not scared off easily. They're more irate in this story. I think number 1. And yes, everyone agrees. Perhaps if you can get Darian Vance out of this hellhole fast, you can do something about the immature ankylosaur before it gets in too deep. The trouble is that with its head only a couple of feet off the ground, it's liable to panic any moment. Why is it panicking? Ooh, okay. You reassure Vance and his cohorts that you intend to extricate him before the dinosaur can start splashing tar in his direction. Teamwork! It's high time to get down to tricky business of hauling Vance out of this death trap. The first thing that comes to mind is to throw him a rope and haul him out by hand. If you aspire to be the hero of your own movie, what could be better? However, this requires considerable strength and some hand-eye coordination. You might conclude that it's smarter to tie your end of the rope to the Land Rover and put its horsepower to work hauling Vance from the tar pit. This requires some skill at rope throwing. Plus, the driving will be a challenge as it requires a deft touch. There's also the need to keep the aerial predators at bay, or at least work quickly before they make their move. You begin laying out your plan, such as it is. First off, whoever has a good throwing arm needs to get this rope out to Vance. Then there's the matter of hauling him in, or maybe using my Land Rover for that. We also need a decent shot to drive away those pterosaurs. Yes, it could very well come to that. Who's willing to shoot other predators too? You glance along the path you drove in on, emphasizing your point. Casey reacts first by backing up a step. Not me, no way would I ever point a gun at any living creature. With Vance being unarmed, that narrows the possibilities. I'll do it, Skylar says, seeing your surprise. The engineer adds. Skylar says, seeing your surprise, the engineer adds, I do know my way around firearms. You know you can count on me, Brett says. I'll keep that in mind, you say to them both. Personally, I prefer to be the one to throw one end of the rope to Vance and give it the old heave-ho. Toss Vance one end of my rope, tie the other end to my bumper and drive, or monitor those pterosaurs gun in hand. Hello, Panda. Very glad you could join us. We're stuck with our rival in tar, and we're trying to rescue them, or set them on fire with a big burning stick. We've not really decided if we're going to commit to that route, but yeah. So it's sounding like number 2. It would make more sense to pull them out with the Land Rover. I mean, everyone that can drive a car at, like 1 or 2 miles an hour. It's not a hard thing to do, and since you've got it there, that's good. I can't think of a situation where pulling by hand would be better. So when we're doing, I've just come off the back of some survival training for working on the oil rigs last week, and they were teaching us how to throw ropes to people in the sea, and it's you've just got to aim to get it beyond them, to miss them, so that there's always a length of rope that's going past them, rather than to try and get the end to them. But anyway, we're gonna pull them out with the car. One after another, everyone else nods in agreement. Encouraged, you look at the person you trust with a gun in this emergency. As for sentry duty, Brett, I've seen what a good shot you are. I'll have Vance free so fast that we won't need a sentry. Skylar, I've got faith in you. Skylar, you're it. What are the two options for Skylar at the end? Is that right? Is that a typo? But anyway. It's got to be Brett, surely. Brett is our muscle, our shooter. Like he's not missed a single shot. Yeah, really, I agree. Brett, of course. Everyone is in agreement. Brett is to be the one. I'll do my best, your friend says. The RV crew takes a renewed interest in Brett, sizing him up for this task. Casey frowns, but Vance and Skylar give you small nods. You two get to work. Suffice to say that your plan is a disaster from the get-go. It takes you 5 tries to get the rope to Vance. Finally, he's able to seal it and coil it around his wrists and waist. After hurriedly tying the rope to your bumper, you climb into your vehicle and gun the motor. That time changer potato shoots forward. So we tied it to the rear bumper then? And why? No, you'd tie it to the front and reverse out, wouldn't you? Anyway, the rope pulls taut, which means something has to give. A dreadful sound comes from your back bumper as it tears off and lands on the ground. You stomp the brakes. I've got a sound effect for that. There we go. The bumper must have been damaged in the past couple of days, likely yesterday. So much has been happening that your inspections didn't turn up the problem. What now? Vance still clings to his end of the rope, desperate and annoyed at your incompetence. Oh, that's very nice of someone who just drove a whole RV into a tar pit to say to you. Someone get me out of here, he bellows. Everyone jumps. Brett calmly takes charge of the situation. First, your friend has you untie the rope from your bumper and retie it to the axle. Next, he gets behind the wheel and applies steady pressure to the gas pedal. Slowly, he manages to haul Vance a few inches, then a foot. A tentative cheer goes up from the onlookers. Brett keeps going until, yes, Darian Vance is free. He may be staggering and suffering from dehydration, but he's alive. The next task is for you to tow Vance's RV out of the quagmire. This begins with an awkward manoeuvre for Skylar. And for me, trying to find background music. Who leans out of the RV's back door to tie one end of the rope to the rear bumper, mere inches above the surface of the potent brew. Though she looks a tad woozy, she manages it. Now it's your turn. You tie your end of that rope to your back bumper and start the motor. You press the gas pedal, the rope goes taut. You give it more gas. With a great sucking sound, the RV shudders. Then comes the tearing sound as your bumper shears off and lands in the muck. You stomp the brakes. What now? With a laugh, Skylar says, "May I make a suggestion? Tie the rope to the axle." "Now you tell me," you grumble. But she's right. This time, the RV lurches free. A cheer goes up from everyone. You keep pulling at the same speed until all 6 wheels are on terra firma. With the RV free, Brett prepares to treat Vance. In addition to dehydration, lightheadedness and nausea, he's suffering from burns produced by contact with whatever noxious substances are in that unholy cauldron. While that's going on, you scrutinise the condition of the juvenile ankylosaur. Coated with black gobs and streaks, it makes the feeblest attempts to keep its head above water. What's more, those persistent carrion feeders are circling overhead again. Sure, they have other targets of opportunity, but it's only a matter of time before their sharp beaks find their way past the dinosaur's armoured plating. Since the ankylosaur isn't terribly far from shore, you consider trying to save it. Doing so will be risky if it revives and maybe futile if it's too far gone. You may do well to get help in lassoing it and hauling it out with your vehicle. Or, if you're trying to impress the others and you feel that your talents measure up, you could see about rescuing the creature all by your lonesome. So, will we work with Casey and rely on our cowboy skills? Which we don't see. We had a go at using our cowboy skills with Vance. Not Vance. Yeah, Dari and Vance. And it didn't work. We could team up with Skylar and put mechanical know-how to good use, or we could try saving it on our own. Why don't we just let it die? Like, why do we have to try and save everything? Yeah, we don't know how the others could shoot, no matter what they say. I think we did. I think we chose well. It's sad that it didn't work out that way, but we did it all for the right reasons. We can't even leave it. Like, yeah, no, it's we have to save it. So how do we best save it? I would say mechanical know-how is the 2 is the most sensible option. I agree. First, you and Skylar set to work making lassos. You get the idea of trying to toss them over the dinosaur's club tail, which waves feebly. This works better than you expected. Skylar ties the other end securely to your axle. You give that time changer potato a little gas. The ankylosaur screams bloody murder as you haul it backwards from a certain death. Once its hind feet find firm ground, the beast turns and charges away, dragging your Land Rover a good 2 feet before Skylar slashes the rope with a machete, and it's gone, tearing out of there, trailing both ropes. Sure hope it doesn't get its leashes tangled up in something, Skylar says. Sure hope it doesn't come back for another drink, you reply, contemplating the unfavourable ratio of its brain size to its body mass. Oh, don't be mean. When the worst of the tarry gunk is cleaned away and Vance is finally able to sit up, everybody gathers around. He looks from one worried face to the next before his gaze fixes on you. Lindsay, Vance rasps. His brow creases. Casey gives him another sip of water. Vance spits out something black and smelly, which does nothing to improve his mood. With a sinking feeling, it dawns on you that despite what you did to save him, Vance isn't pleased with you. You're going to say something snide, but Brett intervenes with, "Well, it's been real, and now we've got to go." "That's a great idea," says Skylar. Casey compresses his lips and won't make eye contact with anyone except Vance. Brett grabs your arm and pulls you along to the Land Rover. Once you two are out of their earshot, he mutters, if I never see them for another 65 million years, it'll be too soon." You toss all your gear into that time changer potato. It was good of Brett to head off an argument. Later that evening. It's getting late. Your adventure at the tar pit took so much time that now you really need to find somewhere to spend the night, away from the death trap. You and Brett decide to head back to familiar territory, camping a short distance downstream from the waterfall. There, you've got fresh water and semi-open terrain. It's a compromise between the forest and the plains. Plus, you'll be able to see Vance and his cohorts from a ways off if they decide to come this way. That evening finds you sitting by the campfire with Brett. Nobody but him, reviewing today's tumultuous events. Who could have imagined that you'd find yourself in the position to rescue Dari and Vance? Sure, you didn't handle things perfectly, but you do feel good about saving someone's life. We've not been concentrating on the movie. However great everything's going with Brett, I mean, sure, we're best buds. Learning more about all these dinosaurs, brilliant. Getting solid evidence of Vance's wrongdoing. Oh, do we need to set him up? So, we are 1 or 3. Saving someone's life, or how everything's going with Brett. Oh no, are we... Of the 3 options available. So if we call them 1 to 5. So for me, it would be 4. And I think that's what you're all saying. Well, we'll have to sort out the terminology. But yeah, dinosaurs. This is the whole thing. Like, this is why we're here. Like, it sucks that Darian Vance is here, but you know, I feel good about saving him, but I feel better about seeing all the dinosaurs. By the light of the campfire, you write up your field notes, recording preliminary conclusions, while your observations of the hadrosaurs, pterosaurs, and juvenile ankylosaur are fresh in your mind. Brett compliments you on your diligence and recollection. You daydream of becoming the Dianfosse of the Cretaceous. Who's Dianfosse? I've never heard of them. Oh, this is going to be embarrassing. Surely they're incredibly important. Dianfosse, having a quick Google. Diane. What? Oh god, I can't even pronounce the name right. She's the person with mountain gorillas. Oh, I do know her. Anyway. Moving on. As you drift off to sleep, what do you find yourself thinking? When the moment of crisis came, I acquitted myself well. Not a bad day. Could have gone better. I'll see what tomorrow brings. What if Brett were trapped in that tar pit? There isn't anything I wouldn't do for him. What if we take the plunge and don't go home the day after tomorrow or the next day? Right. 1 to 4. We didn't do splendidly in any of those things. We always acted in the right way. I think 2 seems to be the sensible thing. I mean, you got a time machine. Surely you could come back at any point. You know, it sounds like you're right up at the end of the Cretaceous, you know, but unless you were there, like, on the day when that bolide, that comet, asteroid, meteor, whatever you want to call it, hit, then you know what, you've got time to come back again, surely. So 4 or 2 we've got. Do we want to stay? How long do we want to stay for? How long do the time windows stay open? I can't remember. I think it was like 3 or 4 a year, wasn't it? There's a lot to consider. There is a lot to consider about petrol, about food, provisions and stuff. So I think probably 2. I think it could have gone better. But tomorrow is another day. Like yesterday, there were moments today when you questioned your ability to deal with the dangers that the late Cretaceous threw at you. And then there's Vance. Trying to deal with him is at least as challenging as the physical dangers that have been coming your way. While it would be nice to think that you're well prepared for whatever tomorrow brings, something tells you not to count on it. Ooh. And with that, I think that is a good place to leave it. 2 chapters today. We treat you well. Yeah, the car won't run on gas forever. No, it wouldn't. You just can't stay there for longer than you have provisions for. What happening with people at home? Do your parents know that you've time traveled? Do your parents know that you have time traveled? They just think their kid has gone missing. You know? The dad's there like, where's my Land Rover? I wonder if you could go to the Jurassic or right after the KPG, or are they limited? We don't know. Maybe that's a sequel. Maybe they could do a whole load of these books. I think Tiny's actually going to write all of these books, seeing as they're so into choose your own adventure books. It'd be noteworthy to see how a post-KPG Impact world would look like. That's true. How post? How close? I mean, we've got a bit of information from Tanis, but is there this nuclear winter sort of thing? Are the skies all clouded over, and is it like absolutely freezing cold? That might be the subject of some kind of documentary that one of us might have been working on somewhat. By the way, on the Eurypterid question from the other day, I was wondering about the specimen's number. I have the specimen's number, but it won't mean anything. It's just... where is it? I got a handy notebook right next to my head. So, there is no way of you finding out this specimen number because it won't be digitized yet. So all of these specimens are in the Canadian Museum of Nature, I think it is, or something, in Ottawa. And so they just have a very boring... So, for example, it would be SC1803DM09-21, for instance. So, yeah, they haven't appraised what all the fossils are. They've just got a number that will just be on like the museum's database, and it will take a lot longer for me to, you know, like write up the article, the manuscript or something like that, to make them decide to, you know, like catalogue that specimen better or put it online or to talk about it or anything like that. So it will be many, many years ahead in the future, because there is research pending on that, and it is going to be amazing when it finally comes out. I'd love to tell you about it now, but yeah, unpublished research. But it's going to be very good. It's going to be in all the newspapers. It'll be cool. But instead of doing research, I am playing Choose Your Own Adventure ebooks to YouTube. So, yeah, thank you everyone for joining again. Oh, let's do some more jazz. Let's do this again tomorrow. I mean, we'll be on chapter 6 tomorrow. Hey, it's going. It keeps going, doesn't it? We've still not seen a T.rex. So, oh God, it's not going to be like a real book size, is it? It's not going to be like 20 chapters or something. But if it is, we've committed. We're all committed. So, yeah, I know, right? I thought it'd be a lot shorter than this. When I first decided to play this, my intention was to do a single choice per day, so that it would be done as, you know, kind of like an Instagram or a whatever kind of video where you chose on there. But even doing chapters, it's a big commitment. It's a good job I'm not doing anything at the minute, but it can't go on any longer than the rest of this week. We got to finish it by Thursday, so maybe like if it's not done Thursday night, we have to sit there the whole night. But until then, tomorrow, 7 o'clock UK time, whatever that is for you, we will continue this, and we will see T-Rexes, and we'll get our revenge on Dorian Vance. We'll get him, and we will kill some more pterosaurs. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.